Stop writing the same things over and over again. Type less, but write more. Sounds impossible? Actually, it's quite simple. Let me show you how. Espanso is a free open source program that allows you to define text snippets or blocks, associate them with custom shortcuts or triggers, and use them in all your applications on Windows, Mac, and Linux. If you installed Espanso already, you may want to skip this chapter and go straight to configuration. You can download Espanso from espanso.org. I will leave the link in the description. In my case, I go for the Windows version. Once the download finishes, install the application. You might get a security warning in your download manager. If this is the case, just say you want to keep the file, and yes, you really want to keep it, and then it will be downloaded. Just follow the instructions on the screen and install the application. And once the installation is done, you can start the program right away. Initially, you're not going to see much because it basically starts in your system tray and the agent is running in the background. If you navigate to the installation folder, by default this is App Data Roaming Espanso on Windows, you will find two subfolders, config and match. Let's look at config first. There is a file called default YML. YML stands for YAML. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, it's not important for us. However, if you are curious about it, I will leave a link in the description especially for you. Let's look inside this file. I brought you here to highlight one configuration change I did and that might be useful for you too. I customized the shortcut for opening the Espanso search bar. By default, it is Alt and space. But I use this shortcut for Power Toys. A video about that will follow soon. So I changed it to Control and space. The content of the match folder is much more interesting. By default, there is only one file called base.yml. Let's take a look at that one. In here, we can define our matches, which are just combinations of trigger and replace elements. The trigger is typically short and easy to remember. The replace element contains the long text that you want to be inserted. Additionally, Espanso supports the use of variables and parameters, like in this example with the current date. But for today, we will skip that part and focus on the basics. That's all nice and good. But what exactly can you use it for? Let me try to answer this by showing you what I do with it. Let's take a look at some of the most common text snippets I frequently need. I would put those in a bucket that I call basic information. First, let's create a new match. As the replace value, I enter my full name. Now I need a good trigger. It should be short and easy to remember. I will take my initials. Sometimes I might want to write my initials rather than my full name, so I need to make sure that Espanso knows when to replace them and when not. The easiest way to do so is to define a one-character prefix for all your triggers. By default, Espanso suggests the colon character. Some people prefer a dot. Personally, I like to use a semicolon, so I add this at the beginning of my trigger, and now it is entirely up to me whether I want to write my initials or my full name by using the trigger. Following the same pattern, I add more matches for my email address, company name, phone number, etc. Obviously, you can put there whatever you need. The next bucket is somewhat related. It is a block with all my social media and online information. The nice thing here is that I can prepare individual matches for each of them. Oh, by the way, you may have noticed that I do not only use the semicolon character to identify triggers in general. I also use an identifier for the bucket to which the trigger belongs. In this case, it is S for socials. This is not a must, but it helps me to organize and memorize the various triggers. On top of the individual triggers for my blog, my Twitter account, my LinkedIn profile, etc., I can also have a single one for the whole block of links. To do so, we define a trigger, as usual, and when we come to the replace element, the syntax changes a bit. We don't need the quotes, instead, we have to use the pipe character. This tells Espanso that it shall not just take a one-line string, but all the lines following the pipe character. And this is pretty much all you need to know for creating matches in Espanso, which can then be used in any application on your device. However, before you go, there are some more interesting tips. Here are 5 other use cases that might inspire you. Use case 1. Scheduling a meeting. I use Calendly for scheduling meetings easily. To do so, I just need to share the link with the other person. This can be done by using the Calendly extension in my browser or in Outlook directly. Or, and this is much faster, I use a trigger for each of the various meeting options. With a simple one-time setup taking less than 5 minutes, I can easily share these self-scheduling links using the simple triggers. Use case number 2. Text blocks in emails. I think all our emails have quite a few repetitive parts, and all of us have some phrases phrases we frequently use. So I put those into Espanso. This helps me to be fast, polite, and consistent in my written communication. Use case number 3. Resources or links that I share often. Similar to the bucket for social media information, I added one for other links and resources that I share frequently. Surely you will also have such links. If so, just drop them into Espanso and forget about finding, copying, and pasting them over and over again. Use case number 4. Standard responses. This is similar to the email text snippets, but somewhat more elaborate. I receive identical or very similar questions multiple times per week, so I prepared standard responses for them in Espanso. Now I can answer them in 20 seconds rather than in minutes. This does not sound like much, but it all adds up. Number 5. Color codes. Okay, that one might not be very common, but I mention it anyway because it does help me. When I need to customize online profiles or share our corporate identity colors with others, I don't want to have to search for them in some documentation. So, once again, I just put them in Espanso. I'm sure you are seeing the pattern by now. Here is a bonus use case for advanced users. So far, we looked at simple text replacements, but Espanso also supports the use of forms. It is super simple and very useful. It works like this. First, we change replace to form. Then, we just add the argument for name to the text block, like so. If we now use the trigger, Espanso will open a small form showing us the text block and waiting for an input to replace the defined argument. And just like that, we have a personalized version of our standard response. Super fast and easy. Now might be a good time to talk about organizing your matches. As you can see, this list can get very long very quickly. While this has no impact on Espanso's functionality or performance, it does make it harder to keep an overview. Of course, I can structure the file with additional comment lines, but the better option in my opinion is to create multiple match files. I separated them based on the different areas I am active in. As long as you keep them all in the match folder, you can organize them in any way you want. Inside each of those files, the same rules apply. Just make sure that you start each file with matches: Here's a quick summary of best practices when defining your matches. First, define a common identifier. In my case, it's the semicolon. Second, use a bucket identifier, like I'm using S for socials, B for bookings, or hex for color codes. Third, consider splitting up your YAML match files for easy organization and structuring. I hope this helps you to get rid of some tedious and repetitive typing. If you found this video even remotely helpful, perhaps drop a like, maybe even subscribe to the channel. For you, it is completely free and it does help me. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.